up, dude? Long time.
Jon Katz, what's going on, brother? Brother
Oh,
from New
man.
York. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, how am I coming in?
I can hear you perfectly, man. How you doing?
Come on, baby. It's been too long. What's going on?
Oh man. Yeah, I've been chilling. I've been working a ton, that's for sure. I've been trying my best to stay, not too busy, but just productive. I've kind of made it.
Is that Prince behind you on the wall?
Prince? No, I wish. It's like a Angelina Jolie type thing. It's actually
In the reflection, it looks like Prince. Oh, okay. It is. Okay.
But it's made out of like cutout newspapers. I don't know if you can see. It's kind of a cool piece of art, but
It's very neat. I love art, man. That's what's up. It was with the way the light was catching that looked like Prince doing his
oh
thing. Rest in peace, Prince.
yeah, rest in peace, Prince. I'd actually rather it be Prince, to be honest. So
Okay. But it looks like your setup's changed. Did you move?
yeah, I moved my it's kind of funny. I just kind of moved. I made a lot of changes in my life recently, but this one was just sporadic. Yeah, I used to have my office in like a little cubby. It was one of the bedrooms in this house, and it was just like a small little room, and it had no air circulation, and the window didn't open much. So it was just like a hot box in the summertime, man. I couldn't handle it. So I'm out here. I'm in the living room now. Got like a little desk set up here with my monitors set up. So I kind of like this. I see you're in the living room as well. I like that kind of feel where it's just like a much open space, much more open space, more windows, that kind of stuff.
What other changes have you made in your life?
Oh, well, I've made a couple of changes. It's been a weird year, man. I don't know. Somebody was saying this to me. I'm about to turn 29 and they said 29 is a weird year, but
Okay.
But yeah, I shifted my podcast to just like speaking with other people. I'm not really doing any solo episodes for the time being, just to kind of force myself to talk to more people. And yeah, with work, it's been a trip, man, because my cousin who was my foreman, he was kind of my boss. It's my father runs a renovation company, so I was always trained by my cousin, and I always worked under him, and because he's like 15 years older than me, and started working for my dad when he was like 16. And so after he left the company and started working with another place, it's given me a lot more responsibility, and it's kind of been a fun challenge for myself, not just like running construction sites, but interviewing people, hiring people, doing other like contracts and learning to do like quotes, estimates, and get my own contracts. And so it's been yeah, it's kind of been a little bit of a trip. There's definitely times where I'm like, I can't believe this is like I never would have thought this was happening. You get so stuck into the like, I just need to work more hours to make more money. And then when you realize that that's not really how it works, like it kind of is, but it kind of isn't. And it's kind of, I don't know, when you start to understand scalability, it's just like sky's the limit, man.
Right on. So you've moved into more of a foreman position?
Yeah, not just foreman, but actually starting to like start to get like contracts myself. So transitioning to hopefully within the next like 5, 10 years, like becoming a general contractor myself.
Congrats. It's a big step.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Sorry, I was just sipping my coffee. But yeah, man, what's new with you? We haven't talked too much. Like we've texted back and forth here and there, but what's going on with you, man? What's new in your life?
Biggest thing for me is I have left the job market, and now, as you've seen, I'm sure I've created a path of financial independence on my own, and that's been massively liberating. So I learned to sell on Amazon late last year, and I had a coach that showed me the ropes and taught me how to make money online, and I took it and ran with it, and now I am economically independent and teaching other people to do the same. I've always been in the job market for better or for worse, and now I've carved my own path, which is really, really liberating, super freeing.
Yeah, yeah. And so what do you feel like is the biggest change for your life with that?
I mean, no commute, no boss, no meetings, no time clock, no paycheck. Everything done on my own, by myself, for myself. So that's been really big. And still all the same stuff that we spoke about before. No drinking, no drugs, no sleeping around. I mean, that's just a baseline. I wouldn't be able to do anything else if I went back. Are you still sober? Still not doing
Yeah,
anything?
like I say I'm California sober. I still do smoke weed every now and then, but yeah, I'd say like I don't drink. I haven't drank for years. I just it's never been something that I don't like how it makes me. I don't like who it makes me, and I don't like how I feel. Like it just makes me depressed. It doesn't really seem like I get the same response as other people.
I think if people were more honest about that, a lot of people would say the same thing. I don't think anyone really likes the way it makes them feel after their,
Oh no, but
treat.
even during, man. Like I'm like one of those guys where it's like the first like 2 hours of drinking is like I'm happy. I'm like still it's like an elevated version of who I am. I just get louder and then I just get sad and quiet and depressed. And it's just like I'm not even like an angry, I'm like a sad drunk. I'm like the worst kind of drunk, dude. That's why I can't drink, man. Like sad people at a party, dude. That's just the worst fucking.
Yeah. Yeah, I think actually a lot of people probably feel the same, but they act differently. And maybe it's just delayed. It might be 2 hours of up and the rest is down for you. I think for most people, it's maybe, I don't know, four, five, six, but the drinking is stupid. I don't do any of that shit, but not doing any of that and, not fucking my life up and not sleeping around has allowed me to then have the mindset where I'm not distracted and I'm able to, because plenty of people try to sell on Amazon, plenty of people try to make money online, and most people quit because they don't have the mindset because they're distracted by all the bullshit they're doing in their life. But my life is largely the same. I keep the same routine, helping the same people, still doing mindset coaching. And now, but the main thing that's changed since we last spoke is my vehicle of economic empowerment, which is not a job.
Yeah, yeah, that's sick. So would you say that more of your income comes more from that than coaching or
Absolutely. Yeah, I do have some coaching clients, but at this point, the vast majority of what I make is from what I sell.
and do you find that that's kind of helped you kind of think of coaching less as like a income and more of like a means to helping people?
Well, it's always been a means to helping people, but it's it's imperative to extraordinarily valuable things cannot be given away because they will be treated as free.
Right.
If people didn't pay for services, goods, they wouldn't use them correctly. They would not treat them like value is what we give to something. So I give away everything I've learned for free. I show my wake up time, working out, not using, drinking drugs, like all these things that saved my life, I give away for free. For people who want a tailored blueprint, they have to pay. And likewise, with the Amazon, I'm always talking about how to sell on Amazon and how to source products and tax things and shipping situations. Everyone can have that for free, but if they want it tailored, they have to pay because if I know that everything I've gotten for free hasn't been valuable, the real valuable stuff is what we invest in something. So when I've invested in something, then I treat it as valuable.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny how I always think about it in terms of fitness because that's just how the first exposure I had to even like making any improvement in my life was fitness. And I was joking with some friends because I have pretty good setup here in the living room actually. Like I've got a little exercise bike. I've got dumbbells up to 90 pounds. I've got kettlebells. And so like, a little folding bench. Like I've got pretty much a fully option like fully functional home gym. And you always hear people be like, well, if I had a treadmill, if I had a bike, if I had a this, if I had a that. And it's like, well, the reality is like I was exercising every single day before I had any of this in my living room. Like if you want to exercise, you'll be exercising every day. You
Only
know,
so, yeah. I mean, people get ripped in prison, and my favorite one is when people make excuses. They say, "Oh, well, those guys have all the time in the world." Like fat people and lazy people will literally make excuses as to why people in prison have more than they do, which is laughable. No, when I first started getting fit, I was exercising on the sidewalk. I couldn't really work out. I couldn't do any calisthenics in my home because I lived above people, so I exercised on the sidewalk.
you're a
this is my
nice neighbor, man.
yeah, this is my old place, and so I would do burpees on the street, literally on the street, and in order to save my mental health, So I chose to work out on the street when other people when people choose to make excuses. So you can yeah. people say, "Oh, there's no gym near me," or I don't know. There's an excuse for why you shouldn't, and there's an excuse why you can. It's all the same shit. It's just the way you choose to perceive it. Uh, how are things? I know that we've spoken in the past. You've had. How is the Canadian government treating you?
Oh man, it's our government is a little weird. It's not as theatrical as the American politics. And so I think that in the last like little bit, I've almost not really been checked out. There's been a lot of yeah, we're just kind of it's weird, man, because we get taxed out the ass here and carbon tax actually just went up again. And I don't know if you know what that is, but it's basically just like a tax on anything that affects the environment, which is carbon tax. It basically just goes on a gasoline, and that obviously increases the price of everything because
Where does that money go? What does the
bring
Canadian
things here.
government do with that
Oh,
money?
private jets, trips to Davos, things like that. You know, the same place it goes every other country. But I think right now it's funny because there's kind of this movement, and I don't know where you, if you're like super involved in politics. I actually pay quite a bit more attention to American politics than I do Canadian politics, just because we kind of follow suit by virtue of just like, oh, they're just there, so we'll just do what they do. It's like you're like a more bigger, more powerful version.
Right.
So, and more theatrical for sure. We don't have anybody like a Joe Biden or a Donald Trump, that's for sure. We've got Trudeau, who's I guess I don't know what you'd say. He's kind of more like a Gavin Newsom type character. And then we have Pierre Poilievre, which is a guy, he's a French Canadian man who's doing the Conservative Party, which would be our Republican Party. And yeah, he's kind of like a French Canadian um maybe like a Mitt Romney kind of character.
Is he
But
Mormon?
no.
Okay.
I would say he's probably some sort of Protestant Christian if I had to guess, but
What
or
do you
maybe
make of the
Catholic.
assassin?
I think the French Canadians are Catholic.
Most of them are Catholic. Well, most because they came from France. What do you make
Yeah.
of the assassination?
Oh, the assassination attempt, dude. It's funny. I've had to kind of check out a little bit from that because it's one of the first times actually in the last few years where I've been considered an expert in one of the fields because I had somebody come up to me and they were like, "Hey, you build houses, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm a carpenter, so like I renovate them." He's like, "You've been on a lot of roofs before?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have. Why?" He's like, "Did that roof look a little bit too sloped for people to be stationed on it?" And I'm like, "Oh man, don't try and ask me these things." Like I would say, dude, I'm a conspiracy theorist, so I'll go down any rabbit hole. But I think that this Trump assassination thing, I think that he's done for. I think they're gonna kill him for sure.
Before or after he gets in office?
Before,
So you believe there'll be another ultimately successful assassination attempt in the
dude.
next?
Well, I bought into the Boeing conspiracy. Did you hear about that?
Lay it on me.
Like the Boeing conspiracy was that all of these like Boeing whistleblowers and all of this like red flags about their quality of their craftsmanship was all like kind of like a predictive programming or like a normalization of Boeing planes going down because President ex-President Trump has a Boeing. That's the plane he flies around on. So if some for some reason his plane went down, it would be normalized. Like, oh, it's a Boeing. Like, yeah, of course. Like, haven't you heard all these whistleblowers coming out about how fucking horrible they are?
You think that's the method that he's going to be killed?
Yeah, probably. Either I don't know. Like the whole shooting a president in broad daylight in like it hasn't happened for a while. And if he has, he's kind of had his like Ronald Reagan like moment where I don't know if you've ever saw that where Ronald Reagan was speaking after a shooting and then like some like a light dropped or something like that behind him while he's speaking and like a loud noise happened and like after like a second he's like missed me like little like funny moments like that where you can actually just like dominate this moment. I think he's had a couple of those where it just makes like the optics make him look even better. And I'm
Without a
not
doubt,
even,
this burnished his image. This helped his image, without a doubt.
yeah. And at the exact same time where people are like, oh no, like Biden's in great shape. He's fit. He's mentally, I don't know how this will age because it changes so fast, but it's like, the argument would be like, oh no, he's fully capable. Like he's like in youthful for his age. And then the next day he's like, I have COVID. And it's like, oh, he's actually one of those people where when he gets COVID, you're like actually concerned. You're like, actually,
Pretty sure,
that's
and he's
that's a
had COVID
problem for
like
you.
he's had COVID multiple times, and look, and none of them should be anywhere. I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm not a Biden supporter. I don't think any. First of all, I think money corrupts people's brains. Trump has way too much of it, and the party line that is trotted out is that he understands the plight of working people. Get real, like
Yeah.
it's crazy. And Biden is clearly mentally unfit. He should have been in an assisted care memory facility many years ago.
Yeah.
Much, not anywhere near any sort of political power, much less the White House. But we've had mentally unsound presidents before. Reagan among them. He was in the throes of Alzheimer's. George W. Bush is arguably a low IQ individual, maybe in the 80s or 90s IQ, and so
Anybody
it's
but
on the
Bush. That was like the movement at the end of it was like anybody but Bush. Like it's kind of the same kind of feel, no?
Yeah, I just all these politicians. I don't have time for any of them. But an assassination attempt is very very unique. It doesn't happen very often, especially one that's been recorded. And there are parallels to Reagan. Both of them were wounded, and I mean Reagan's injury was way worse. The bullet ricocheted off the car and into his ribs, collapsed his lung. He could have died. He would have died without surgery. But it is
But
quite
no
embarrassing.
cool picture of the fucking fist in the
Yeah,
air. That was fucking cool, dude.
and
No
it's just
matter how you look at it, that's cool.
No, the optics are perfect for him. He's a master of the image. But I'm always interested in hearing people's opinions, and it's funny that you were consulted on your rooftop assassination knowledge. It was definitely strange. How something like that could occur is very, very odd.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think definitely there's no three-letter agencies that would ever even attempt to shoot a president in broad daylight and pin it on some random lone gunman or anything like that. So I think it's yeah, it's unprecedented, I think, but I I've always kind of yeah, it's funny, man, because I tend to lean more towards the right wing, especially here in Canada, because our left wing has gone even more left than you could imagine. But so just being like a rational person, you're a far right extremist. But it's like yeah, I don't even know. The US is in a rough spot, man. I think, and we're not. I think we're even in a worse spot. It's just easy. It's more in the shadows. I think that a lot of this, like you hear a lot about the Great Deceiver, and I think that he's doing a lot of work right now.
Talking about Satan.
Yeah, yeah,
Did you
absolutely.
ever get your COVID vax?
No, no, sir.
Good. People were getting fired left and right in the US for not getting vaccinated.
It's one of the very few benefits of being self-employed in Canada.
Yeah, here as well. I think if you're self-employed, it wouldn't matter, but you couldn't travel without it. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you can. I think that wave has passed, but you wouldn't be able to travel. And people were starting to. It is a little scary to think, okay, my movement is restricted. You can't travel without it. It has some pretty scary connotations. Restricting people's travel because of whatever their status is. It is pretty grim. I do my best to largely divorce my mind and body from politics, from the
Yeah.
news, but something as serious as an assassination attempt did enter my headspace, and I did allow it and still allow it to be in my consciousness. But most political, day-to-day political stuff I have no time for. I have no interest in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was thinking about it yesterday, how fucking funny it is that I actually am concerned about it because it's not even concerned, but just entertained or
Yeah,
interested in it, like
right.
intrigued. Like it just makes me so curious of like how's this unfold? Even though, for the most part, and it's funny because I find myself like in a weird camp, mainly just because I continuously question why I think the way I think or why I do the things I do. And for years, I got super involved and invested in politics. And then that followed years where I was like completely disconnected from it. And I've always like, there's the people that think, if Donald Trump goes in, I'm doomed. Or if he goes in, my life could change for the better. Like there's all these, and I'm sure that, in certain circumstances, there's a lot of people that do have their lives impacted by who's in office. But I think like the same people, for the most part, that are complaining about their bills and their income and their issues in their life in Donald Trump's presidency would have been complaining about it in Obama's presidency, would
Thank
have been
you.
complaining about it in Biden's presidency, and they're probably going to complain about it in 4 years from now.
The biggest trick that American politics has played, first of all, the biggest trick is that voting accomplishes something. If voting changed anything, it would be made illegal, you know? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that people's lives by and large are the same now they were 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. If you're working on yourself, your life is fine because you feel yourself improving. If you are not, your life sucks because you feel yourself degrading. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter who's in office. To say that some president has more bearing on your life than your own habits is fucking crazy. And that's what most people do.
yeah. I mean, there is types of arguments for sure of like you look at Europe in like the 20s and 30s and you see the hyperinflation, you see like people that did have life savings that they had big bank accounts, places like, in Germany in the 30s, we all know what happened in the Weimar Republic where you hear the stories of like wheelbarrows full of cash couldn't buy a loaf of bread. Like at some point there is a degree where it's like this does impact my life. But I think if we're in the society and day and age where you can order a donair to your house by the press of a button or whatever it could be, then it's like you're probably not in that rough of shape. Like you could probably get by if you actually just pinch your pennies a little bit more.
And took care of yourself. Those days, and that hyperinflation is happening in Venezuela and other parts of the world, largely due to US economic situations, but it isn't happening in the US. But people like to identify with it's crazy. People are broke and out of shape and they don't have much, but they identify with the 100 millionaire or the billionaire. It's nuts. People that
Yeah.
are that's the craziest thing that American politics has done as well. Everyone has identified with these politicians, and they're more than half of the people in Congress are millionaires, right and left, or Democrat and Republican. Trump has more money than God. What the fuck are people doing identifying with him? It's insane. They have nothing in common with him. Nothing. Nothing. And he wouldn't piss on you if you're on fire. Neither would Joe Biden.
Yeah.
I have nothing in common with either one of them, but it's just dumb. And what you mentioned about hyperinflation, that's not the case in the US at all. It
Yeah,
is.
yeah. No, I'm just saying that there is an argument to be made about that. That's
I
all.
mean,
Like,
historically, there are
yeah.
and if we were in Venezuela, that absolutely would be an issue. You know, but
Yeah. I'm just presenting the opposite side of the argument. I align with you, man. I'm just trying to think outside the box. But I think
well,
it's
people's lives suck, right? And so they need to say, why does my life suck? Okay, well, my life sucks because of those people, and my life sucks because of those people. But it's never my life sucks because I smoked weed or I took a bunch of uppers and now I feel like shit or like
yeah.
I'm, all fucked up on Adderall and I didn't apply for the job I should have. That's why your life sucks.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's actually kind of funny. That's one of the most beautiful things. As much as you're kind of ragging on it, I think that that's actually one of the most beautiful things about what you would consider to be like kind of the American dream, or like I guess the way I would differentiate between people on like kind of I guess what's a good way to say this? I think there's something beautiful about a guy who's just fucking working at Blockbuster, or I guess that's how fucking late my brain is right now to pop culture references, but a guy that's working at what's a good store to work at? Maybe Winners or Lowe's or
We have lows, yeah.
yeah, so Lowe's. Okay. So you work at Lowe's and you're just kind of the guy that sweeps around. And for some deranged reason, you think, if we get a conservative enough government, I can make it one day. I will be the millionaire. And so for that reason, I want low corporate tax. Like I think that that's actually a beautiful thing that people are actually in the mindset of like that you know what? I don't want people that make over $1 million to be taxed that much because that could be me. It's that idea, the mentality of that could be me. I'm that guy. You know, like people that play like fucking Madden on their computers or Xbox or whatever, they see the football players, they're like, I'm that guy. I am him.
It's
Like
amazing that
it's
you
a
hit the nail on
beautiful
the head.
thing.
You hit the nail on the head. You have millionaires that have their boot on your throat and you say,
I'm him.
more, more. I want more of that. Make sure you don't raise the a lot of corporations in the US have a negative tax. They get more
Yeah.
money from the government than they pay. And it's okay because, the land of opportunity, that could be me. Dude, no, it's not ever going to be you. You will never be president. You will never be a billionaire. Stop it.
It's a,
Stop.
but you know what? I think it's a beautiful aspect because I'll say this. In Canada, at least where I'm at, a lot of people are the opposite. You're like, how about you start a business? How about you do this? How about you do that? Well, I could never. That's just like they literally think that, and I don't know, some people I buy into more than others, but they literally almost think that they're like not human. The people that are like running these corporations, they're like, there's no way I could do that. And you're like, dude, you literally can start a company. You literally can
I did
employ
it. I have
people.
an LLC. I'm licensed. I have my tax certificate. I'm totally, yeah, I did it.
So that's what I'm saying is like it's like kind of a beautiful thought process of like that's me. Yeah, I'm that guy. Like everyone has this kind of I feel like in the States a lot of people have the main character syndrome. That's kind of what I call it. Like they're like I'm the main character, dude. Like all these people, like that's like side quests. Like you know what I'm saying? Whereas like I feel like where I live sometimes it gets kind of I get bogged down because people are like they're the NPCs. Like they're not the main characters in the video game. They're just like floating around. And you're like, don't you think that you can do this? Like there's
What
something beautiful about America that is just like the janitor looking at the millionaire being like, I'm that guy.
Amazing. I'm that guy, so I want that guy to pay less taxes than I do.
I love it, dude. I love that. It fires me up, dude. It makes me excited.
What's the plan for your business? Are you hiring? So you have your own subcontracting program where you're working for your dad?
So yeah, right now it's kind of basically the way that the company works is it's just like we do home renovations and restoration work. So, yeah, you get a contract for a home, and then I am a carpenter by trade. So I've always been my dad's carpenter,
Got it. I understand.
and then we subcontract everybody else. And then I've been kind of doing this for a few years now, and then it got to the point where I'll just run his job sites for him. And he's in his 60s, so like I want to help him retire anyway. So it's always been part of my dream. But just kind of yeah, running the job sites, organizing trades, and then it's like the obvious clear next step is just getting my own contracts as opposed to running his.
Right. Cool.
Yeah. And it's yeah, I am sure that you've been going through this as well, but it's trying to learn like the legalese and jump through the red tape and the
That's the
fucking
hardest part.
regulations.
The work is not difficult. Everything else is.
Yeah.
Dude, check out this for government exploitation. In New York State, you have to announce your formation of an LLC in two publications. This is insane. And because I incorporated my business in New York County, which is Manhattan Island, is the most expensive part, you have to announce it in a journal in the county you're located in. So literally have to show the state of New York proof that your business has been printed in these two papers. One of the papers isn't bad. It was like $250 for a 6 week contract. The other one was almost $1,000 simply to print the fact that my company has been incorporated. I don't know any other state in the union that demands it. So I have to pay New York State and these private entities $1,000 to announce my formation in a law journal and some random working paper that's printed a weekly. Like it's fucking crazy. And
Like
there's
so
no way
just like
around it.
was it just like to write an article about
It
the
says
fact that
here
it
with
incorporated?
here here with Jon Katz's company. That's not what it's called, but Jon Katz's company has been incorporated. The mailing address is this. It's incorporated at this address. and then has to be printed.
And
This is some artifact from like the 19th and 20th centuries. You think in 2024 that I would no longer have to have it printed for 6 weeks for God knows who to inspect. But they will suspend you can lose your LLC if you don't do it within a certain, it's straight up exploitation. It is straight up government exploitation. And so I did it. They had me over a barrel.
yeah, there's just some like, yeah, like, is that some way of like trying to keep print in business? Like, what the
I
hell?
don't know. Now that would be beautiful, right? Because print, I do have a soft spot for printed matter. But my announcement got printed in the New York Law Journal. I don't give a fuck about the New York Law Journal.
Yeah,
I really
yeah.
don't.
Would
But
a
it's
tweet work?
I
What if
would
a
think
big
so.
enough celebrity tweeted about it?
What if there was
You have to
uh,
pay an influencer to tweet about it.
what if there was an online registry in which every address could be cross-referenced against my LLC names and every LLC name could be cross-referenced against an address? Wouldn't that make more sense? And wouldn't it save small business owners like me who's just getting started $1,000 right out the gate? I mean, plus you have to pay. There's just it's crazy. It's crazy. But hey, that's you want to pay the cost. You want to be the boss. You got to pay the cost. That's what it is.
Oh, dude, yeah. I love that song. Pay the cost to be the boss. I love that song, dude. Yeah, dude. I'm under the firm belief that small businesses are not favorable for the government. They don't really like that. But I wonder why that is. Like do they have a reason of like why they make you do that? Like does it like come back to like mob days in New York of like all these fake companies popping up running numbers, or like why would they?
I'm sure that at some point it probably did serve a purpose. It probably did. I don't know what that purpose is, but it's very clear that in today's day and age, there's no purpose. And I also don't know of many other states. Shit, I don't know of any other states in the US that you have to do it. It's something, from what I understand, particular to New York, and that is super aggravating. It's super aggravating.
If there was ever like would there ever be an amount of regulation or say like different types of lockdowns or different restrictions came in place, would there be an amount of restriction on your freedom that would make you leave New York?
So I don't believe the government. I believe the government has already restricted all of our freedoms to a pretty strong degree. It's created choices in our lives. We can only make choices that are other people's choices for us. There's no real choice in contemporary Western civilization. You can choose from a number of different options, but all of those choices have been selected for you. So all of that control has already been done. I mean, 9/11 went down. I can't think of a more damaging, control-inducing act than 9/11. I already been through all of that. The only thing that would make me leave New York would be my own economic self-interest. Like I am, none of my work necessitates me being in New York City. So I'm considering leaving at least temporarily and being a digital nomad or remote worker in a much cheaper part of the world. But in terms of amount of freedom, I think all of my freedom has already been taken from me. I also think that all my freedom has been given to me from me. So I don't think there's anything that the government can do because I don't think we'll ever be in a truly dystopian situation. If we were, they're not going to let anyone leave anyway. So I don't really go down that path. To answer your question, the short answer is the government isn't going to make me leave. I would choose to leave because now that I'm making money and not working physically in New York City, it's kind of silly to be paying New York City everything.
Yeah, yeah. I get that for sure, man. I don't know what the tax rate is over there, but I'm sure that it's probably similar, if not maybe even more. I don't know. It's kind of unbelievable for us, but
It's high, and we don't get shit for services. At least the Canada has universal health care and a social safety net. We don't have that shit.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure. Yeah, I think the universal healthcare thing in particular, like people, we pay for it. Trust me, man. We pay for it in
But here's the
taxes.
thing, Mark. Here's the thing. No one pays more for healthcare than the U.S. U.S. citizens and U.S. government. So we pay
Yeah,
more and we don't get shit. That's the thing that people don't really get about the U.S. healthcare situation. Look at the stats. The U.S. government pays more per capita for each man, woman, and child than any other country, and this service here is in the third ranks in the 30s of countries. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's fucked up. And I'm not a socialist. Believe me, I'm not advocating for a left wing takeover and universal everything. What I'm saying is that people should get what they pay for, and Americans
Yeah.
pay through the nose, and American government pays through the fucking ears, and we don't get shit.
Yeah, yeah, I do agree with that. I think that there is a big amount of corruption, um, but it's it's insane. I think that there's almost different problems because here, like it's full on like corruption in that form of way, like in the sense that like you still kind of do almost get like I would say maybe second world, and I don't really know what defines second world. I just feel bad calling it third world, but like some of the hospitals here, man, like you go in and you're like, I've seen better setups in like war zones, like
It's that
there's
bad.
well, just like it's very like, it's almost like a time warp. Like you walk in and you're like, it's like one of those like 60s buildings that people used to smoke in and shit. And you're like walking around and you're just like, this seems like a time warp. And then like even some of the like, yeah, it's just it's a lot of people, long ass waits. I don't know what hospital waits are like for you guys, but dude, if you go into the ER, like the last time I went, I had a piece of metal in my eye from work. And I think I got to the hospital like 5 p.m. and I saw a doctor at like 2 a.m., like
Holy
3 a.m.
shit! You're lucky you didn't lose your eye. Were you wearing protective eyewear?
No, I was an idiot, but
Holy shit! I hope that's the last time you did that.
yeah, yeah.
It was in your eye.
Small little fragment of metal, like it's small little piece of shrapnel. Just yeah.
God damn. Well, I'm glad that you're looking at me with your those beautiful eyes, man. It would be
Oh,
sad.
dude.
It would be
Yeah.
sad.
Funny, yeah, that was a funny story in and of itself, but yeah, it's got its pros and cons, man, for sure. It's nice to not have to pay the bill immediately right then and there. Like there's funny stories. I was getting told the story back in about ancient Rome about how like there was like they had their like firefighting systems, and at one point when the economy was so bad during the fall of the empire, there was like one guy that had a monopoly on all the firefighting services, and basically they'd like show up to your house and like your house is on fire. They just like look at you and be like, like it'll be like 10 grand to put your house out, and you're like, well, I've got like three, and they're like, oh, we could give you a little loan, like an interest of like 400% if you want to save your house like right now, like it's still burning. And you're just like forced, like strong-handed into like these crazy, like we talk about usury at 20% credit card rates, but like we're talking like 400% loans to like
That's a good racket, man. That's a good racket.
it's crazy, man. Yeah, so I don't know. There's definitely pros and cons to it, but I think that a lot of the issues come down from, I like to call it like crony capitalism. Like it's like capitalism, but with a nice little government twist. And it always seems to help out pharmaceutical companies and all these other, they seem to be making, you said, we pay out the ass. Well, someone's making that money, and it is American people for the most part.
No, the biggest some of the biggest companies in the world are healthcare companies. It's this enormous section of the US economy.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah, it's insane, man. But I do always like to yeah, I always like to kind of focus on especially over the last few years, it's been very frustrating for us because we've had like literally yeah, we've had years of like people kind of blaming the government, blaming outside forces. Like I said, even when we were under restrictions and lockdowns, I was still working every day because I went from one industry where I was working in restaurants. They told us the first day, like on day one, we're shutting down. And then after a couple months, we were like, we can open, but we can only serve these hours at this time and this many people, and everyone's got to be masked up, vaxxed up, like all this stuff. And I was like, dude, I'm done. I need to go and be learn to be self-employed
It was a
and make
massive psyop. Even if the pandemic itself was not a massive psyop, the response to it was. Even
yes.
if it wasn't engineered by governments or whatever, let's take the pandemic itself out of it. It was enormously useful by governments to see what they could do to the population.
Yeah, I mean, never let a good crisis go to waste, right?
No, and that's what governmental governance is: crisis management, perpetual crisis management.
Yeah, yeah. I 100% agree with that. And I think that it is, yeah, I'm just with politics in general, it's so funny. I was saying this earlier, but it's just like if you can view it as a reality TV show or a sport or something like that,
It
it's
is.
actually quite entertaining. But if you're
It is.
sitting
It
there
it is
thinking,
both of those. It is both a reality TV show and a sporting event.
yeah, like if you think of it like that, it's really fun and entertaining. If you think of it like you're actually going to make an impact on the world, like I said, I do think it's everyone's civil duty to vote. I think you should be voting. That's my personal belief. I think everyone has the freedom to make their own decisions. But at the end of the day, it's like you're looking at the way that these people run the world, or at least our countries, and it's like if you have to reject democratic norms in order to uphold like your version of what democracy is, it doesn't feel as democratic. You know,
Mm,
like it just doesn't really. And so like you can't take it too seriously. I
no,
think that, as Canadians, we got to look at like our own house and not as much at the House of Parliament. Same with you could say the same thing as an American. We have to look at our house and not the White House. Like we have to look at, our own lives because, like I said, the same people that we've had the same prime minister for the last like, fuck, seems like forever. But for you guys, like you guys have had different leadership every 4 years for the last like three presidents,
right.
right?
I
Right.
don't know.
And so
Obama, Trump.
I just think like the last 12 years, you've had three presidents. You've had Obama,
No, it was
Trump.
two. No, it was Obama, Obama. Well, yeah, Obama, Trump, Biden.
Yeah, 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 yeah. For the last 12 years, it's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
a different president every 4 years. And so, like, I'm sure the same people that complain about their income, that complain about their bills, like all of all these complaints, was it the same? Or did you see a drastic, maybe it's anecdotal. Maybe I'm completely off, out to
It's the way
lunch
it's
right
being
now, but
perceived. It's dude. If you look at real, it's the way that things are being perceived. What is real is that real wage growth has declined. Wealth has continued to be concentrated at the top. It's life expectancy for American males has decreased, which is insane.
yeah.
Isn't that crazy that the life expectancy in the richest, most developed country in the world is decreasing for men? Isn't that
Why do you think that is?
shitty health, man? People are killing themselves. Uh, Overall cardiovascular health, obesity, lack of fitness.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, man. I kind of felt like a judgmental asshole for a little bit, and
Judge people, man. They're judging you. They look at you, they see you're in shape, you got tattoos, they're judging you. Believe me. Don't
dude,
I don't buy that. I think anyone that says they don't judge is lying. Judge.
no, no. I was just feeling like it yesterday. I was with my girl and we went to a makeup store. There was like we went out for lunch, and then as we were going back to the truck, she said, "Can we run in here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course." So we go in. I'm just walking around. I'm just looking at other people, and I'm like, literally, this is a store that sells looking good, right? It's a makeup store. It's cosmetics. They sell looking good, presenting yourself well. I'm like, there's not a single person here that looks healthy or in shape.
Amazing, right? That people will spend money on cosmetics and God knows what else, surgical things and weight loss pills and drugs, but they won't do the free work. Exercise is free. You don't need any equipment. Push-ups, sit-ups, and squats are free.
Exactly. And it's like you'd think, yeah, like you said, like it's like you'd think these people that are like actively going out and seeking, I want to be more confident, I want to look good, that's what you're selling at a makeup
Right.
store is look good. And you'd think that if you're prioritizing that or you're desiring that, you just go for, start with a walk, go for a jog, go for a run, do some squats in your living room, like get a little fucking exercise. But dude, you know what I do on days when I literally like don't want to exercise? I sit on my bike over there and I throw a YouTube video on that makes me want to exercise. I just watch a YouTube video and I just keep my RPMs over 105. Like that's it.
That's all one needs to do.
Yeah, brother. So what's before I let you go, is there anything that you've kind of changed in your life recently that kind of impacted, aside from like becoming your own boss and doing like online sales? Do you think like is there a habit or a behavior that you've had to adapt recently or had to change in your life? Anything that you've like actively done recently to make an impact?
One thing I've continued to do that has continued to bring results is continuing to let people, place, and things go. Like that's one thing that it isn't a recent thing. I mean, I had to do it once I got my life right, letting all the drugs and alcohol and all the bullshit go, but just to not try to hold on to anyone or anything that was looking to leave. And I recommend that, to anyone that is struggling. Until you let it go, it won't let you go. People, if you feel trapped by something, by someone, by some part of you, by some memory, and you're holding on to it, well, that's why you're trapped. You have to let that shit go. Uh, and that was on my mind recently. It's not anything new that I've done, but it's something that I've been thinking about.
Is there like something that you were holding on to that you had to let go of?
It's a daily practice. It's not something in particular, but it's definitely something that I consider daily that, I am even this life at some point we're all gonna have to let go of this life. Even everything, anything, everything in our life at some point in the future when we die, we're gonna have to let go. So it's something that I practice. I'm just more answer your question. I'm more conscious of letting things go now than I think I ever have been.
Of just like the how temporary everything is.
Yes, and so to try to hold on to anything or anyone in this temporary world is why we're in pain.
Yeah. Are you someone like me that like keeps everything? You're like, oh, I don't want to let go of this little trinket that my mom
Oh,
got me when I was
fuck
6 years
no.
old.
I do
No.
not hoard. Dude, I lost my house in a fire. I wasn't afforded
Oh
that
yeah,
luxury.
right, right.
The universe is a very interesting way of forcing you to learn the lesson. I learned that lesson a couple years ago. It'll be 2 years exactly in less than 2 weeks. August 1st, it'll be 2 years. But I don't have that luxury anymore. And that made me realize all this shit can go, bro. All
Hmm.
this all can go. Because
Yeah,
the Lord will take it the universe will take it from you eventually. I just, at 36, I had it taken from me without my consent.
yeah. There, it's something weird because I was actually thinking about this yesterday. I was thinking about, and it's weird how it came to be. I'm sitting there grilling my dinner, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I don't deserve this. Like this is
Hmm.
such a blessing.
Hmm.
And then I had like that other voice in my head. I was like, like those self-help gurus would tell you, like, you do deserve this. Like, why do you think you don't deserve this?
I
And I
think we
had that
deserve, yeah.
mental debate in my head.
Well,
And I was just thinking about like just adopting the mentality. Like, even if you think, okay, yeah, I deserve all these great things, but just adopt the mentality of like, I don't deserve it. And what does that mean if you have it and you don't deserve it? Like, how much of a blessing is that? Like you just said, the Lord can giveth and the Lord can taketh away. But the fact that you have the thing, I'm like looking down. I'm like, man, I'm at this place. It's beautiful sunset right now. I'm grilling meat and vegetables. Like, this is the biggest blessing, dude. What did I do to deserve this? I fucked up for the probably the first 90% of my living years so far. Like there's no reason. Like this is such a blessing.
you got to live it, man. I think we deserve whatever we give to others. So, give others positivity. That's what we deserve.
Yeah. But there's just something about that mindset of like, we were talking about it earlier, like the average Joe or someone even worse off than the average Joe looking at like the millionaire being like, I'm that guy. I deserve that. There is something romantic about that, but there's also to the flip side of it, like you said, or like we were talking about, like the ability to just enjoy the present moment. I see you walking around all day. I know one of the things that you enjoy to do is to just walk the streets in New York.
Exactly.
I know you. I know you from just watching you do it. And you just like to walk the streets in New York. There's something romantic about it. And when like that's the same way I felt yesterday, just like sitting there grilling food, like little things
Amazing.
like that.
Yeah, internal peace, right? And that type of stuff. And I think you do deserve it. Well, but what I think you deserve doesn't really matter. Whatever we feel we deserve is what matters. And I think that's what determines it. But I'm glad you had that moment. And I appreciate another. I think this is our fourth conversation opportunity to chat.
Yeah, brother. I are you got to get going? You got to
I got to
take off.
roll out, unfortunately. Yeah, I got something at 10.
All right, bro. I'll let you go. Thank you very much for
Much love, Mark. Thank you for
taking the
hitting me
time
up. I
with me.
appreciate this. I'll talk to you soon, bro.
Likewise. Much love.
Peace.
Peace out,
Fuck the
brother.
government.